All right, welcome back. That was a big intro. I mean, what could possibly be bigger than a move across the world?
I don't know, Colette. What could be bigger?
Well, there must be something funny in the water here in France.
Well, I have something to tell you about funny people, and that is when I got in an argument with a crazy person at a grocery store.
Oh, I was going to say, was it me?
So before we get into the big news, I just want to share this story. It was a few days ago. This is just another French thing that happens when you don't speak the language. So at the checkout line, I believe I'm following the normal progression of I'm next. I go put my items on the belt, and all of a sudden, the lady who was just kind of standing to the side starts yelling at me. And it's all in French, and I, politely say, I'm sorry, English, and she kind of looks at me and points to the belt and does something, and then I look at the cashier, who she says some stuff in French, and I still don't know what's going on. So I start to move my stuff off the belt, and then she's like, she didn't want that, so she's saying no, and then I look at the cash register and the cashier, and she kind of shakes her head, and then finally, all of a sudden, she just kind of throws her hands up and says fine, and then the cashier looks at me and kind of waves me in to put my food onto the belt. And I have no idea what actually transpired. And I was watching as I checked out, and this lady continued to stay there, and she continued to just stand at the end of the belt. And here I am thinking, I'm an idiot. I made a mistake. What did I do to upset this lady? And then I'm checking out, and I'm watching, and I see her just stand there, and she's on her phone. And then I see this couple come up, do the same exact thing I do, put some stuff on the belt. And this girl, this lady, gets all upset again. And then I realized the problem with not speaking the language is you can't tell if you're getting into an argument with a crazy person. And so you think you're the crazy one making a mistake. And then when I finally realized this is just a person who's just trying to cause a fight in the grocery store. And then, I kind of felt better after that. But
way to go.
It was just very anxiety provoking the whole time. Because I'm thinking I made this huge mistake. And then it turns out she's just a crazy lady the whole time.
I mean, I have to say, we're trying to learn the language. You're doing your Duolingo every day, but we didn't hit the lesson about fighting in a grocery store yet.
Yeah,
so
we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, you came home and you were like, I got in a fight. What do you mean you got in a fight? You went grocery shopping.
So what is this big news that you've been meaning to share?
Well, obviously, we've been going to boulangeries and patisseries and viennoiseries every day. I mean, baguettes, croissants, and I feel like I'm starting to see it. Because I think I have a baguette in the oven, guys.
That's right, everyone. We have a baguette in the oven.
We're having a baby.
Yes.
Yay. And this is crazy.
It's surreal.
I'm pregnant. I know.
I'm
properly pregnant at this point.
I look over at you sometimes in bed and I'm like, you're kind of still pregnant. You know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually showing now.
Yeah.
Wild. So much earlier than with Scotland.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the second pregnancy is just you pee on a stick and you're like, oh, I need some maternity clothes now. Didn't know this would happen. Yeah.
So we found out 2 weeks before we were moving to France.
Yes. I mean, we wanted to have another baby. And we had shared how we had a miscarriage earlier in the summer this year. And the doctor said, have one period and then you can try again. And so we weren't really I didn't think we were giving it the whole, a proper try. We were just enjoying and took the pressure off because I think there was a lot of pressure post miscarriage. At least that was my mentality of just enjoy and relax. It's not my usual relax. That's not my first take on things. But yeah, and I knew 3 weeks in, I was just oh, I'm pregnant. I can feel it. I just knew it. There was no question. And I took a test and I wasn't even surprised. I just needed to pee on the stick for confirmation, but I looked at it and I was like, yep. There was no shock in my face, I don't think. And then I told you right away because I can't keep a secret. And what we did was we had a babysitter at the time in New Jersey, and we had this little adventure. What did it say on the
I think it says adventure
onesie?
Awaits. It was just a little onesie.
Yeah, a little tiny newborn onesie, which is so small. And I had Scotland walk into Scott's office.
And she was wearing a shirt.
And she was wearing a shirt that said Big Sister. And she handed Scott.
She threw it.
She threw it, yeah. Yeah. She threw the onesie at Scott, was just hiya. And yeah.
Well, I saw the shirt and I kind of knew her shirt and I kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah. So. And, we had just gone through the, like, I'm telling you I'm pregnant a few months before. So it's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
And how'd your family react?
Oh my goodness. Well, my family, we told them before we left for France as well, because we didn't know the next time we'd see them. So we wanted to tell them in person. And we had a similar, Scotland was wearing her big sister shirt. And my mom immediately started crying and she's like, "You're not going anymore, right?" We're like, "No, we're going." And of course that crossed my mind. Like, we're not going anymore, I guess. Like, we're going to stay because this is crazy.
That crossed your mind?
Of course it did.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, this changes a lot.
Oh, I thought you were like 100% set.
But I was also like so determined to make this dream happen that I'm like, well, I guess we just have to keep going. Okay. So, I mean, both paths presented themselves in my brain. And we said, no, we're still going. So now, on top of all the packing that we've already gone into and the stress of just generally packing up your house and moving across the world, I'm also first trimester pregnant, tired. The nausea didn't hit yet, but man, did it hit when it did. I think it was...
Let me share my experience of Coco's first pregnancy. Yeah, so Coco's first pregnancy was like hilariously stereotypical funny. She would like all of a sudden she's like, I don't know why, but like I just need to eat, and like you kind of laugh like, here you go, yes, you're pregnant, and then you give her a snack, or like I look over and she's passed on the couch while we're watching a Netflix show, and it was just funny. And you had funny moments of morning sickness. One time was kind of due to jet lag. Another time you were driving your dad and you had to like get out of a car and throw up on the side of the road in front of like a police car. It
was like a car garage shop.
And so these guys are like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, it was like out of a movie, like, "It's okay, I'm pregnant." Like that. But every other day you were just kind of fine, like going along, happy self, like, yeah, you'd be a little tired. This is the exact opposite. This, like, every single day that we've been in France, nearly every single day, Colette wakes up and she's like, I can barely get out of bed. Like, you need to take care of Scotland if we didn't have the nanny. Like, and for the first few times, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a little morning sickness. And then after a while, I'm like, this sucks. Like, I feel bad for you.
Yeah. And I felt bad for you then, because I was like, I'm putting so much on you, but my capacity is just so much lower because I'm handling this baby that is making me really ill and exhausted, and I'm having a hard time with it. On top of all of the things I was already having a hard time with change-wise, this was like, it was overwhelming.
So what's been the hardest part so far?
Well, it's probably like a combination of things, but I would say the overall hardest part is the lack of control in pregnancy, which that was present in the first pregnancy, but I was able to kind of channel it and harness it and enjoy it and like lean into it. And this pregnancy, like, there's such a lack of control and you feel sick and exhausted, and it's totally different. And it's like what you hear of in the movies, like first trimester, constant nausea, but not vomiting, and having to like constantly have a snack because otherwise I'm nauseous. It's a weird thing. And I'm just so tired. It's tough work making a baby. And then also having a toddler, I think, and being in a new place and not having my typical food and schedule. And so there's a lot. Does that answer it?
Well, let's talk about, like, okay, if you guys have had kids out there, there's a huge difference between the first and second pregnancy, and even just us enjoying it.
Yes.
Like, also, we're kind of in this crazy world of, we moved to France, but the idea of the first pregnancy, it's the two of us, like, every single day we're checking the app. We want to know, like, oh my God, like, what's the size of it? How big is it? And, we like count the days to every doctor's appointment, and every night we go to bed, like, just basically cuddling your belly. Mm-hmm. And with a toddler, it's literally like, oh, I forgot. Like, you have a doctor's appointment today? What's it for? Oh, you're pregnant. That's right. That's right. Do you need me to come? Or should I just stay should I stay? Should I? And that has been like, it's just because you're so busy. You're so busy with the toddler and so busy with life at this point.
Yeah. The first pregnancy. That's exactly it. You know, I have those apps that say like how big it is. You know, it's the size of a lime. It's the size of an orange.
You probably get alerts that are like, you haven't checked in for 3 weeks with us.
Are you okay?
Do you want to know about your baby?
I'm like, I'm just tired. I have a toddler. But yeah, that's been really different. And I think also the healthcare system, I mean, we've had to navigate all of a sudden. I had this amazing doctor in New Jersey. He's the best. If anyone's pregnant in northern New Jersey, Dr. Bissinger in Morris County is the man.
You'll also see him at the Cellar in New York City in stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy. He's a comic. He's an artist.
He's not really a comic, but
he's a funny guy. He's amazing. So leaving that and then going to a new country with a new medical system and a new doctor was scary, on top of having a miscarriage. I mean, those few weeks from having the positive pregnancy test to the first ultrasound, they're always scary, I think, for any woman. And then having to make my appointment in French initially, and then finally getting an English speaking person on the phone, and then going to the first appointment. The first appointment was really cool because the 3 of us got to go in. Scotland got to go with us, and we got to hear the heartbeat, and everything was okay. So that was really nice. I mean, what were you feeling at that point in time?
At what point?
Like going into that first doctor's appointment.
A few things. One, it was difficult to like feel because we were so busy, because we're in France and we're dealing with Scotland, and it's also, we just had the miscarriage. So you're kind of like, I think with every pregnancy, you're almost until it's here, like you're kind of like, I don't know if I really want to like get so bought into this having a kid, like it's so tied to that child because you never know what could happen and you have so many unknowns. But I think this one, just because of how stressed our lives were leading into it, I just wasn't able to like fully embrace what was going on. But when you see it up there and you hear the heartbeat, because I feel like even both of us were like, is everything okay? Because we haven't heard anything until at that point.
Yeah.
But you hear the heartbeat and you see the measurements at that point. What is it? The size of like a golf ball, maybe?
I don't even know if it was that big. I was like 7 weeks, so very small.
Yeah. Oh, was that the first one? 7 weeks?
Yeah, to confirm the pregnancy. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
We did 7 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of my feeling. Then, you get overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah.
And then right away your toddler pulls you out of it.
She's like, cool story. I don't care. Let's go play. Let's go to the park. So yeah, the moments, what does Tom Segura say when you have kids?
You have time and then you have moments.
Yeah.
And you have moments when you have a kid.
Yeah. You used to
But you don't have time.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about even like the chair at the OBGYN was different than the chairs in the States.
That's something you're going to talk about because I did not sit in there and I haven't been sitting in OBGYN at all.
So in the States, you have a little table that you sit on and it reclines. It can sit up, and
I'm not going to relate to this.
But women will.
I guess
women
so.
will. It's not a chair. There's like, there's something for your back. There's a table for your back. And then it's just kind of open, where your waist is down, and you put your feet in stirrups like you do in the States, but the whole bottom half is removed.
But there's like a little bit of a ledge.
There's
like
a little
butt cheek
ledge.
right?
Yeah, it's almost like what you would deliver in, not what you would go to the doctor in. So you don't have to scoot down at all because there's nowhere to scoot. You're already down. So that was unique. And I think everything else has been, in terms of the ultrasound stuff, has been very similar to in the States. But I would say the differences in healthcare, one, it's so much cheaper here than in the States, between insurance and paying for, we've been paying out of pocket for appointments, and it's much cheaper overall.
But like how much cheaper? Like get into what are some of the numbers?
So if I had my carte vitale, which is, we qualify after 3 months in France, and it's your healthcare card for being a resident of France, it would be free. It would be free. I haven't qualified yet. So what we're supposed to do is save all of these receipts. And then once I get my carte vitale, then submit them to the authorities and I get reimbursed for it. So far, my appointments have been €150 to go see the doctor and get the ultrasound. And then when I get blood tests, it's been €60. And there's one blood test that was much more expensive to get some chromosomal tests. And that was $400. euro.
So, I mean, if you break down like what your premiums are going to be plus your copays,
Right.
like it's even with us still paying out of pocket, it's still a lot cheaper.
Yeah, because we had $1,100 a month, I think, of health insurance on top of
I think it was even more. I think it was like
14.
15,
Yeah.
14 or 15.
And then we would pay at the doctor as well.
Yeah.
So, and then for these larger appointments like ultrasounds, you pay more. So overall, it's much cheaper. I would say that they treat in the States, they treat pregnancy like a medical condition or a disability. In France, it's just a part of life. So not as much testing, not as much stress, I think. Doctors, at least the doctors I've dealt with, and I've dealt with 2 doctors so far, they've been very chill. Like, no, we don't test for all that. That's too much. We don't have all that here. Your risk factors are low. You don't need to do that. Like, relax. I've heard relax so many times in the doctor's office that I'm like, but I like to self-advocate. And the thing that helps me is data and testing. Like all that stuff calms me down. Like that's why I love Emily Oster books. It's like all about the data. The data calms me down. The data gives me life. But it's the unknown, the just relax. I'm like, that's not my style.
Yes, if you can't tell, Colette is a little bit high strung sometimes, especially with pregnancies.
Yeah, I like to do everything right. And so if I'm not getting this like feedback of, am I doing it right?
What's an example of you as a kid of doing it right from like, because you've always been this way?
Oh man, I don't know. I've told you all my stories. I feel like you would know.
Well, there's the jump rope story. There's the couch, but I'm trying to think of one where you like, just not a rule breaker. Like,
yeah, I couldn't break rules.
I can't think of one.
I was never the kid that was like sneaking out of the house. I was like trying to make my parents proud at all times and like do things right and be like, look I'm such a good kid. Like that was more my style. Not cool.
Yeah. So the doctors, I mean, you've had to experience it more, but
yeah. And the doctors have all spoken English. I think the real challenge, and obviously this is on me because I'm not fluent in French and especially not in medical terms in French, but dealing with the front desk at the OB, dealing with the front desk when I'm getting my blood tests, that's been the most challenging because they do not speak any English. Like really, it's so hard to find someone that speaks English. And when you're going, they go so by the book. And I don't know if that's just socialized medicine of like, you do this and then you do this. Like there's no bending the rules kind of thing. That's been a challenge because you can't have a two-way conversation about medical stuff. And that's really been hard.
You mean the reception or the doctor?
The reception.
Yeah.
Yeah. The front desk. The doctors have all spoken English, which makes me really nervous for the delivery because when you think about when you're delivering, you don't see the doctor until you're pushing, really. I mean, he checks in a few times or she checks in a few times, but it's mostly nurses. And what if they don't speak English? I'm going to have to like really learn medical terms in French.
Or we have to get a translator.
Yeah.
I have to get some type of translator. Should we talk about what we found out we're having?
Yeah. I think we should talk about the story of how we found out, first of all.
So Colette had found this lovely Instagram. So we didn't want to do anything like big because all these like huge reveals are nauseating. But we wanted something small. We wanted to do something kind of for ourselves that'd be fun. And she found this reel of this couple had a croissant, a big croissant, where they cut in and the inside was filled. At the time for them, it was a pink like jelly like filling. And so Colette was like, I would love to find a patisserie to do that for us. So she reached out and she actually had the one we had our doctor when she was able to identify the sex, wrote it down on a piece of paper and folded it up and gave it to us. And then we gave that to our nanny to then have the nanny call the patisserie to ask them to do this. So the day of us finding out the gender, we're going to go to this patisserie and pick up this beautiful croissant. And we thought we had communicated clearly what we were expecting. And unbeknownst to me, you tell them what happened.
Okay. So I walk into this patisserie and I let them know that I'm here to pick up the croissant. I had messaged you on Instagram. And the man behind the counter grabs a box and before I could do anything, opens the box, and there is a big croissant covered. It was big blue croissant because we're having a boy. But I was like, this is supposed to be a surprise. And he goes, he looks me up and down and goes, but you're not pregnant. You're not the one. And I'm like, no, I am the one. I am pregnant. I just don't look it yet. So we didn't, our wires got crossed. He thought
it's just another example of like life in France where you try to communicate something and it just, even we had someone speaking French, or did you describe what we sent a video of like, this is what we're trying to do. And I knew going into it, I was like, they're going to screw it up and it's going to be whatever color on the outside. I don't know why. I was like, they're going to mess it up. So I was prepared, like whenever they gave us the box, to be like, I'm not opening this until we're together. But unfortunately, you didn't even have the chance to like close your eyes.
I didn't have a chance to say like, don't open it or don't tell me. And I wanted to say, don't tell me. So I was really bummed, but I didn't want to have Scott be bummed too. So I brought the croissant out in the box and I came out and I just said,
you warned me right away.
Don't open the box because the color of the croissant is on the outside of the croissant.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And then we sit down and we're about to cut into it or open the box. And you're like, so what do you think it is? And I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, no, what do you think? And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I could kind of tell. I was like,
so awkward.
Yeah, that when you wouldn't say, I was like, this is weird. Like you wouldn't even, okay, whatever.
Won't even guess.
All right, let's open this box. And then afterwards, you're like, yeah, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. I felt really bad.
Because I wanted at least you to have that element of surprise in a good way.
Yeah, I was.
Finding out with your partner instead of a room full of random French strangers.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thanks everybody.
And then a lovely lady afterwards came out and was like, congratulations. And she's like, he's been working really hard on that, like for the past 3 days. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
That's nice to know.
Still ruined it. Like
I still ruined the surprise. It was a delicious croissant though. And there was blue on the inside when we eventually cut in. And Scotland got to eat it. And it was really cute.
Did you, before you found out, what did you think we were having?
I thought we were having a girl. Well, there were times I remember I went up to you at the gym for some reason. I think I had like a sick testosterone pump from whatever workout we were doing. And I was like, we're definitely having a boy. And you're like, okay. And the fact that the pregnancy has been so different, it's like, well, if it's so different, maybe it's a boy. However, in my brain, I just couldn't understand being a parent to anything other than what I've already been a parent to, which is a girl. And we have an abundance of pink clothing and we really are like girl parents. And now we're about to be boy parents. And I'm terrified because I don't know what to do.
What to do with the baguette? Where does the baguette go?
Yeah, what do you do with it?
When I saw, I mean, I really thought we were having a girl too.
Yeah.
I just always thought I would have all girls. And
when we opened the croissant,
I was like, why is it blue?
Why is it blue?
And it was also kind of like a blue-green. So it's kind of like, I'm pretty certain this
Are we having an alien?
Yeah. But I was just completely thrown off. And then it was like, oh, we're having a boy. Oh, we're having a boy. We're having a boy. We're having a boy. Like it takes forever for your brain to kind of realign. And it was kind of the opposite because I think when we had Scotland and we did like the same thing, I was like, why is it pink? Why is it pink?
Yeah.
So
I think too with Scotland, it's like, oh, well, she's not really sick. She's like really vibing on the pregnancy. That's supposed to be, I thought, a boy. I'm like, you're supposed to be sick with a girl. But I think these old wives' tales are kind of BS.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, it's how do you feel about having a girl? Or I mean, having a boy?
I was like, I love having a girl. I think I'm scared. I'm scared of having a boy. There's different decisions to make. I've never changed a boy diaper. What do you do with a penis? I think you cover it up so you don't get peed on. I'm just so used to everything girl. But I'm sure I've heard that boys and their moms have a very special relationship. So I'm here for it. And I'm so excited when you think overall, like we have a girl and a boy, and I think having a big sister will be really helpful for him. He'll respect women. How do you feel about having a boy?
I mean, what's interesting is you would think like you'd have the typical like, yes, it's going to be a boy. This is going to be awesome. He's going to be a mini-me. And I don't know why I'm like more nervous for the boy than the girl. And maybe it's because it's the unknown. You know, like I definitely was nervous. We were before just having a girl. And now we know the girl and love her to death, and we'll love him to death. But it's definitely a little bit more, I don't know. It's just the unknown. Like in my mind, I'm like, what's this happen? I think this happens with every kid. You're like, what are they going to be like? What are they going to be like when they get older? Mm-hmm. And what's our relationship going to be like? But it'll be fun. They're good. Yeah.
I feel like we also had, or at least I had, so many girl names picked out. I was like, oh, I like this name, this name, this name. And boy names, I'm like, I have no idea. So if you guys have any ideas, comment, send them to us. Love a good travel theme.
What was the top girl name that you had? Top 3?
Eve was my top girl name.
Oh, another.
My
Eve
sister's
one.
name is Eve, and I just love that name. It's so classic and beautiful, and obviously I'm very, very close with my sister, so I love her dearly.
Gee, she would have lost it.
Eve. I was going to name her Eve.
She's going to cry hearing that.
Oh, yeah. I have a full like app on my phone that just says baby names, and it says like, it did say girls, and then middle name for girls, and then boys was at the bottom, just like a few names. But that has since switched, and now the boy name's at the top, and it has a ton of boy names and then middle names. And I think I still have the girls at the bottom. Did you have any names?
0.
Girls?
I'm a guy.
I don't know if like something that came up when we were naming Scotland, maybe was staying.
No, I'm a just-in-time type of thinker.
I still liked Rose.
Rose is a good one.
Rose was on the short list for Scotland. So I still liked that classic.
Yeah.
Short, sweet.
Yeah, so I don't think as a guy, I don't think most guys are sitting around being like, well, I just can't wait to like name. I mean, definitely it's fun, but like not at this point.
Fair.
Give me a few more months and I'll be like, okay, let's sit down, let's have a drink. And
let's have a drink.
I'll have a drink.
Sure. Pour me a
And,
tall glass of milk.
And then think about it. And then probably like most parents will have like 3 names until the day of the birth and be like, okay, we finally have to pick one.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Scotland, we had that front runner and we're like, we just want to see her. And we did.
Yeah.
And then we named her.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the big announcement. We're having a baby boy.
We're having a baby baguette.
A baby baguette. We'll call him Jean-Luc.
Jean-François. There's something super French and obnoxious. That'd be hilarious.
All right. And then next week, talk about
one of the most amazing small towns, a hamlet. In southern France.
I mean, we posted one video about it and it got nearly 10 million views.
Yes, this place, the secret is out. Thanks, Romeru.
Yeah,
you ruined it.
Moustier-Sainte-Marie, one of the most beautiful towns in France. So Next week, au revoir.
See you then.
A bientôt.
A bientôt.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're learning from and or enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. These are great free ways to support this podcast. Also, please subscribe to this podcast on both Spotify and Apple. On both of those platforms, you can leave us up to a 5-star review, which would help us out greatly. Please also check out the sponsors mentioned in today's episode. That's the best way to support this show. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please put those in the comment sections in YouTube. And yes, we do read all the comments.